Welcome to Connection Corner, Seizing the AI Moment, brought to you by Women in Technology Hollywood. Hello and welcome to the podcast series, Seizing the AI Moment. In each episode, we dive into conversations with AI executives, trailblazers, and innovators who are reshaping technology in the creative and business worlds. I'm your host, Filiz Bahmanpour, board member at Women in Technology Hollywood. Over the years, I've led product development and business transformation at NBC Universal, Universal Theme Parks and Resorts, and Nielsen Gracenote. At Tavant, I head up media and advertising practice and help our clients transform and modernize their platforms and services through engineering and AI. Today, we are exploring how AI is unlocking the next frontier of video understanding, from search and discovery to creative workflows and new forms of storytelling. Our guest is Soyoung Lee, co-founder of 12 Labs, a company pioneering multimodal AI that can understand video the way humans do, through language, visuals, and context. Soyoung has been at the forefront of building one of the most exciting startups in AI, empowering developers and enterprises to bring video intelligence to life. Soyoung, welcome. Hopefully I did it justice there.
Thank you so much, Filiz. I'm super excited to chat today.
Wonderful. I've seen you last week. Was it last week?
Yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
The day before yesterday, my bad.
The day before yesterday. We're doing a lot of things, right? And you had just come from IBC as well. So I really appreciate you making the time today.
Of course.
So yeah, you co-founded 12 Labs to solve one of the toughest challenges in AI, teaching machines, right, to truly understand video. Let's rewind. What's your personal and professional journey that led you here?
So I'll start by saying what my current role as a co-founder is. So 12 Labs today is we hit 121 people last week.
Congratulations.
And thank you. My role is leading go-to-market. So working with all of our customers, our partners, marketing. We also have a self-serve kind of go-to-market motion where anyone can sign up very easily, use our product, and use our APIs to build cool things. The journey to get there, I'd say. So prior to 12 Labs, I was in consulting/auditing. So I was with a company called PwC, where I was on the tech auditing/consulting side of things. I don't have a tech background in education. I majored in business and kind of spent a lot of time on the finance and accounting side. I thought I would be a CPA. And then, but I always was super curious about tech and was very excited about it. I think I was also very influenced probably by my parents and family, who a lot of them are engineers. And so my kind of where that led me to was within consulting firms. There's a role that a division that specifically works with product teams or engineering teams, kind of understanding the overall process of how, business requirements, how product is made, how engineers develop, and looking at those processes. So it was a lot of going to very large enterprise client sites, staying there for months, being very embedded in there, talking to almost everyone within their companies. It's Filiz, this very well too, right? And, asking them a lot of questions around what do you do on a day-to-day basis? How do you develop things? How are decisions made? Who approves this? And once that happens, what happens next? And kind of being able to kind of talk to people who know a lot more than me, who their business, technology, and things like that. And so that was super exciting and a lot of fun for me. And transitioning over to 12 Labs, like how I think most companies would start, I think it always starts with having incredible friends. So Jay was my co-founder and our CEO. I've known since high school. We went to boarding school together, so we were in the 9th grade together, and we stayed extremely close friends. And
amazing.
Jay had met our other co-founders. So we have 5 co-founders. Jay had met our other 3 co-founders in Cyber Command in Korea. And because all of my co-founders come from a deep learning and research background, they were building kind of systems to be able to understand vast amounts of data, to understand threats. And it's how the idea of why is it that for text, you can even 5 years ago or 6 years ago, there was NLP, and you could analyze context and nuance of language data. You could sort of do that for image, but video is really difficult because if you have a 1 hour video, how do you know what's actually inside that video and understand that contextually? And able to do that across, petabytes or millions of videos without having to manually, scrub through and watch it all, which is frankly, it's just not possible. And so that was kind of the problem space. It was a very ambitious problem that, we wanted to solve it together. And for me personally, like I just fell in love with all my co-founders too. Like I trust them with so much intellectually, but also they're all incredibly humble human beings that, I love to work with. So that's kind of how we, started out 5 years ago, back when like even large language models were super nascent. And we started kind of from, very small co-working office. That was kind of like a WeWork knockoff.
Oh,
But,
was that in LA? And sorry, maybe you should talk a little bit about where the company is.
So that was in Seoul. It was during COVID. So we were all living in Seoul. Like we happened to all be in Seoul at the time and we weren't traveling. So we were all in Seoul at the time. And we started building the baby version of, what our models are today with the notion of, hey, let's build an AI system that can understand and search video based on natural language prompts. And then went from there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I spent lifetime in media entertainment, both production, distribution, and consumer facing aspects of it. And metadata was managed pretty much, manually for so long. But I think the technology and the needs are coming to that crossroads of explosion of content, explosion of platforms. For technology to now help with that is inevitable. And I think the timing was right for 12 Labs in that regard. I guess curiosity again, I mean, like you guys as the founders coming together and realizing that something could be done here. Was there a sort of a customer or first area, if you did not want to name any customer, like, hey, we could see this happening here and it could really change the game?
Yeah. So every company, every startup is very different, right? Some startups start from having extreme domain expertise and a long experience in a particular domain. Maybe they come from a creative background and there's a very specific but extremely impactful problem that they set out to solve, and they build the company and the early product around that and expand from there. For 12 Ops, we started with a very broad technology problem. And almost, I would say, let's try to find the right word here, but almost
You mean like multimodal search, kind of like this is the, technology problem that could apply everywhere, but it's a
yes, I would say a naive confidence.
okay.
That's what I would call it. I would say we started with a very naive confidence that we were so passionate and we felt like, hey, we have a very unique perspective on like how multimodal and especially video needs to be understood, and we can do this. So that's how we started. And in terms of, so who were our very first early adopters or customers, we went through an accelerator program called Techstars Seattle, and that was very helpful for us because the first things that we wanted to do is we had built the baby version of the tech, and we were trying to, for startups, a lot of the times the guidance is start from a really narrow business problem. But video is itself is not a narrow business problem. Video is ubiquitous. It was also during COVID. So everything we were doing from meetings to like conferences, entertainment, consuming of entertainment, like our life was all about video. So there's an extremely broad space of so many different industries and verticals and different specific problems you could solve for in each vertical, right? And so that's kind of what we hoped to accomplish through the accelerator program. And, they connected us with 300 professionals who are highly experienced in many different domains, from retail to and e-commerce to, media to security and things like that. And I can't actually have screenshots of these, but we created so many lean canvases of different business models.
Okay.
And all these different, like very specific products we could build that leverage video understanding technology. And at the end of it, we And we were excited by it. But at the end of it, I think what we realized was for us, we're really just excited about the technology and all of the unlocks in aggregate. And
Mhm.
so instead of building an end user application or a verticalized application, that's when we started like, this is like 4.5 years ago. That's when we decided, okay, we're going to build APIs. And
Mm.
that sounds intuitive now, but back
Mhm.
then it was kind of a really odd concept to say, our
Mm.
product as a startup is going to be foundation models that understand any video, and our product are APIs that let developers build with these models. It was kind of a very
Yeah.
unusual thing, yes. And for us, it was exciting because we wanted to enable other builders, right? Whether you are a startup building a
Mm.
new platform for video editing, whether you are a Fortune 500 enterprise looking to bring these capabilities into your organization for all of your employees to search your videos, we wanted to enable it all and provide the flexibility. So we created APIs. We didn't have API docs at the time, so we wrote like our first version of our API documentation on a Notion page. And then we started looking for early customers, design partners that we could learn from. Interestingly, the first design partners and customers that we had actually came from the media industry, media and sports industries. And they were some of the most notable, I won't name them, but most notable organizations of the industry that we happen to have met incredible people who worked at these organizations who were super innovative as individuals. And they were they knew we were early, but they were really excited about the possibilities of what they could unlock for themselves and their teams. And so I remember our very first side deal was $5,000. And it was really just a nominal thing that
Yeah.
we did to commemorate it. But really, what we were looking to do was learn from them and get their feedback on the model. What does it further need to be able to do? What do the APIs need to be able to do? And since this kind of we're looking at AI from a Hollywood perspective, the very first question I remember I asked this customer was, what is a media asset management system? And,
Yeah.
and looking back, it's like it's such a ridiculous question. But they told us so much about their world, and we spent a lot of time with them learning what's the actual
Yeah.
process to once you receive footage after a game or after a shoot, once you actually receive footage, what are you actually doing? Who's actually
Sure.
logging it? How are you tagging it? How are these tags stored in whether spreadsheets? In some cases, it has
Yeah.
metadata tied to video and things like that. And if they have the ability to just describe moments and find exact scenes, where would that capability best live, right? Because we were building APIs, so we didn't have a front end. So, and that's kind of where we kind of realized, oh, shoot, every organization that has video actually already has a ton of systems that they've already procured, that they've rolled out, and that people are using. And what a lot of organizations fear the most is introducing yet another front end and application.
Sure.
And so that's how we started to partner with a lot of the kind of existing applications within the media space, from editing
Mm-hmm.
platforms to content management systems, and working with them, collaborating with them basically. And we specialize in AI case search capabilities or metadata creation capabilities. We don't understand, we acknowledge that we don't fully understand the end to end of that workflow, and we're not the best people to build that either. And so it was
Mm.
working with these partners to put these capabilities together and then enabling customers to like very easily use their existing tools from that they had been logging into the day before, except now it had become a lot smarter and kind of remove a lot of the needs to manually, log and tag footage. And instead, a lot of that effort could now be spent on thinking about how do you tell stories, how do you access, utilize, and monetize, build those monetization workflows downstream, as opposed to kind of trying, managing of metadata.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So first of all, make good friends at a boarding company, a boarding school, and has some curiosity and spark, and through technology, not domain expertise. But then, really, the sort of, I guess, timing wise, lucky, but just have this amazing business partners willing to work with you to innovate, and then really be curious about the sort of the details of the domain and the process and how that technology applies to improve lives. Amazing, amazing journey. Thanks for walking that through. I'm sure it'll inspire inspire some of the listeners who are thinking about building? I mean, nowadays, there's a lot of companies, right? Like all AI founders are reshaping the next wave of the industry in a way. So what has been the biggest challenge in not starting, we talked about starting, but scaling an AI first company?
So the challenges grow and evolve, right? Early days, it was a lot of the challenges was on education. So what I mean by that is, you mentioned it was good timing. It actually, I would argue it might not have been the best timing, meaning it takes a long time to do the research and build product. But at
Mm-hmm.
the time, nobody knew what multimodal was or cared. Semantic search was not really a term that was used outside of the research or some engineering communities. The term RAG did not exist at the time. And so like in the baiting, that was our biggest challenge. How did we
Mm-hmm.
make people care? And
Okay.
it was like, and so so that was the earliest challenge, I'd say like phase zero challenge that we had. And so we created a lot of blog posts. We started doing these like webinars that we call Multimodal Weekly. So every
Okay.
Friday, and I'm super proud of this. I'm not the one who's running it. We have an incredible person called James on the team who runs our developer experience. But every Friday, without fail, the past 2 years, we run a webinar session that kind of educates or that brings together people like it could sometimes it's researchers in the AI field, sometimes it's customers, sometimes it's partners to talk about what their multimodal